They position me on the carriage. The steel feels cold against my skin. An acrid scent lingers in the tiled room, signifying thousands of similar rituals. "You had surgery?" Minister Kubak says, examining the scar on my chest. "Yes," I say. "Heart surgery. Bypass." It is extremely rare for a citizen to volunteer. "The gods call me," I lie. "I belong to them." Minister Kubak puts up a smile. "You understand the stages: desiccation, blazing, and finally solidification. We'll make it quick, but some pain is inevitable." "That's life," I offer a grin. "Our suffering shows the gods we love them," lines I have rehearsed many times in my mind. "But you have no past record of devotion, of sacrifice. It's odd." I stay silent. To speak might invite more questions. Instead, I listen to my heart and its fluttering rhythm. The minister hesitates for a long moment, then turns away. But the ritual must progress, for our divine glory. He motions to his assistants. "Prepare him for the sacrifice." Masked figures step forward, tubes and syringes in hand. Carriage rumbles through the plaza, past the crowd of devotees praying before the shimmering great wall. I can't move, my skin burning in the breeze atop the carriage. The novices sitting to either side of me stay silent, but gaze reverently on the deity wall as we inch closer. In front stand the armed guards to keep the holy edifice safe from those who lack faith. My neck cannot move, but my eyes lift to see bodies of men and women solidified as offering, and amidst them is my daughter Ruhi, kidnapped, sold, sacrificed. We stop close, just a few meters beyond her, where the wall is still smooth. I'm lifted from the carriage and seated on a platform suspended from a gantry. The novices take their positions to either side of me, and were raised slowly, past the arranged bodies of men and women. The novices take their gas burners and begin the process of melting the surface where I'll rest as I become one with the wall. It burns when they push me back in wall, such that it clogs my ears but leaves my face exposed. I imagine how much worse it would have been for Ruhi, scared and alone. I console myself with the knowledge that the man who sold her to the cult is dead. It is some small comfort that I have no unfinished business. My breath pinches, lungs harden. It'll not be long now before all breath stops, and I'll die. It's what I am waiting for. I shiver in the wind and stench of burning skin, and watch the crowd. The crowd watches me. When I'm done, the arrest mechanism on the device attached to my heart will fail. The surgeon who performed the operation said the blast radius would be 12 meters. It'll be enough. Ruhi does not belong to the wall. Soon we will be free of it, and we'll be together. Every time I came back from summer break, I was always eager to see all of the children's faces. Today was no exception. I walked into the classroom and closed the door behind me. The kids were always thrilled to see me. The room was filled with chatter and giggles by all the excited children ready to start a new school year. Sarah, who was only 8 years old, sat in the front of the class. Her cheeks were red and her pigtails swung back and forth as she waved enthusiastically at me. Jason, with his eyes beaming with joy, called out to me, asking if I had a good summer. He too was so excited to start this new year. I quickly asked the class to simmer down their conversations as I began to answer Jason's question. My summer has been hectic, but I am sure glad to see all of your smiling faces. The kids smiled with that response. I slowly made my way to the desk and pulled out a box of matches from the drawer. I really missed all of you, I sighed under my breath. The kids then exchanged worried looks with each other as they watched my friendly demeanor change. I really did. Mr. Anderson? Jason sounded concerned. I glanced back up at them. I was surprised that they didn't question the gasoline smell when they came in. Oh well. Mr. Anderson, what are you doing? Sarah's voice was sweet, yet I could hear the fear behind it. The kids squirmed in their seats uncomfortably as I attempted to light the first match. I'm scared, Mr. Anderson. I know. I'm sorry. With another flick, the match set ablaze. In one quick motion, I threw the match towards them. The flames roared as they emerged. I hurried out the door, locking it behind me. The children began to scream in panic. One by one, I watched as their skin began to boil and melt away, revealing the insect-like parts underneath. The children's squeals were then replaced by distorted screeching that echoed through the room. It started just a few months ago. We had a meteor shower that plagued the Earth with alien-like parasites. These parasites would attach themselves to their host and take control of them, devouring them slowly from the inside out. It was nearly impossible to detect them among people, but there was always a big giveaway. You see, the parasites started targeting a specific age group when they noticed adults found it difficult to kill them in that form. Just a few months ago, I was a regular elementary school teacher that loved all of my kids. Now it's my job to take care of them. I'm honestly not quite sure why I'm writing this, since there's no one left to read it, but I'm tired. Not Yanni tired. I mean tired. Done in tired. I literally do not have it in me to keep on living. See, 3 years ago, the worst of the worst happened. Global catastrophe. Goodbye life. Everyone is fucked kind of happened. It took a matter of hours. Had I been home, I would have been part of it. I would have seen the news, presuming it was on the news. They always put it on the news in the movies, don't they? I would have been with my wife. I would have been able to hold her hand as the world just got utterly destroyed. But I wasn't home. On that day, on that fucking day, I was climbing. A fun little hobby of mine, and I'd been training for years to get that good. The irony of it all when I thought my stupid hobby meant I was gambling with high probabilities of dying. If I knew then that it actually meant being one of 7 people left alive on Earth, I'd have thrown myself off the edge as soon as I saw that comet hurtling across the sky. 5 weeks we were up there, by the way, waiting for the water to fall back into the sea. We lost 4 people in that time. 1 died of starvation, the other 3 of hypothermia. Although the plus side of the cold was that it kept their bodies cold enough for us to live off for those remaining 4 weeks. I prayed and prayed that I wouldn't die, that we would make it through, that somehow people would have made it, that my wife would be waiting, manage to get to safety somehow and I could find her. It wasn't any easier when we got down. We were consumed with guilt, grief, fatigue. Down 8 digits between the 3 of us, and spades full of PTSD. Hunting and searching for any signs of life and finding no one but us 3 left. That was just the beginning though, because the next course of survival was to find literally anything to eat, anything to keep us warm, and anything to keep us sheltered. We lost Matthew about 4 months later. He caught a cold or something and then Harry about 6 months after that. He didn't even die of anything interesting, for fuck's sakes. He managed to snag his foot on a bit of an old broken metal and it became infected. Can you even imagine dying of something so basic? So, here we are. I've been on my own ever since, completely and utterly alone in the world. The cruelest part of all, I have, down to the bare bones, literally nothing to live for, and yet I cannot do one simple thing I need to do to make it all end. I don't mean I lack the balls, or have some inner urge to keep fighting. I mean that I have actually thrown myself off skyscrapers, drowned myself in rivers, sliced my own neck. I literally cannot die. You always hope your prayers will be answered, don't you? But you never really consider that God might be a sick fuck. The world ended 3 years ago, and I'm completely and utterly alone.